You opened 11 Labs again this week, pasted the paragraph, and then closed the tab before the audio finished generating. The topic is still sitting in your notes. You have not moved. You feel like a fraud before you have done a single thing, but that feeling is not what you think it is. Your instinct calls it a warning, and that warning is not pointing where you think. Every week you stay here, your channel has 0 watch hours, 0 subscribers, 0 momentum, and your compounding clock did not start. What you are about to hear is the only thing that changes that. You have convinced yourself that the fraud feeling means something real, that it is your gut telling you the truth, that you are not ready, that you do not know enough, that someone is going to watch your video and immediately clock you as someone pretending. It feels like honesty. It feels like you are just being accurate about yourself. But that is exactly the trap. Because what you are actually doing is treating a feeling like a fact. You are taking "I feel unqualified" and hearing it as "I am unqualified," and those are not the same thing at all. One is information. The other is just fear wearing a very convincing outfit. You have done the research, and that gap is quietly costing you every single week. The vidIQ numbers are there, the topic is viable, and the 11 Labs tab is still closed. The work is done and you still have not moved. Have you ever felt like the moment someone watches, they will instantly know you have no idea what you are doing? That feeling is not a warning about your competence. It is a signal that you care enough to take this seriously. The problem is you are obeying it like a stop sign, and it was never a stop sign. There is a name for what is happening to you, and once you hear it, you will not be able to unsee it. It is called Epistemic Status Conflation, which sounds complicated, but what it actually means is this. Your brain is taking a feeling and treating it as a fact. Not occasionally. Every single time you think about pressing record. And it is doing it on purpose, to keep you exactly where you are. You can measure your own competence at its highest and still rate your readiness at its lowest the moment emotional arousal is high. And that is exactly what happens. It hits experts. It hits people who have already succeeded in adjacent fields. Nobody warns you that expertise makes this worse, not better. The feeling of not being ready arrives and your brain files it under evidence. It logs, "I feel unqualified," as proof that you are unqualified. And those two things are not the same. One is a mood, the other is a measurement. And you have been letting a mood make your decisions. You are collapsing the gap between them and calling it self-awareness, when what it actually is avoidance with very good posture. That is not caution. That is the trap closing. That is why you can spend 40 minutes inside vidIQ finding a topic with genuinely low competition, confirm the numbers look real, and then close the 11 Labs tab without typing a single word, because the feeling of not being ready arrived and you treated it like a verdict. The feeling is not a verdict. It is noise that your brain has been mistaking for data. And by the end of this video, you will have something specific to do today that dismantles that mistake before it costs you another week. Most people never get that far, and they never know why. There are 3 specific tools that do exactly that, and they come from peer-reviewed research, not productivity culture, not motivational frameworks, not generic advice about mindset. The first tool is called the Dunning-Kruger inversion, and it comes from research that changes the way you read your own doubt. In 1999, Justin Kruger and David Dunning at Cornell ran a series of studies, logic tests, grammar, even comedy, and they found something that should stop you mid-scroll. The people who were genuinely bad at something had no idea they were bad. They could not see their own gaps because seeing gaps requires a level of skill they had not built yet. But here is the part that actually matters for you. The people who were genuinely competent consistently underestimated themselves because they assumed that if something felt easy to them, it must feel easy to everyone. That assumption is the exact mechanism that is stalling you. Their own fluency made them blind to how far ahead they already were. So when the fraud feeling arrives, it is not neutral information. It is actually a backward signal. The more seriously you take your own knowledge gaps, the more likely it is you already know more than you think. The people who feel most ready are usually the least qualified. Here's what you do right now, and it is almost embarrassingly small. Write down the exact topic your vidIQ research flagged as viable. Then write 3 specific things you know about that topic that a total beginner does not know. Not paragraphs, 3 sentences. If you cannot write them, that is worth knowing right now. If those sentences exist and a beginner could not have written them, you have already cleared the bar your viewer needs you to clear. Screenshot that list and keep it open while you record. That list tells you what you actually know. What it cannot tell you is how to make yourself move once you know it. And that gap between knowing and moving is where channels die. That is a different problem, and it is the one we are solving next. The second tool is called behavioral activation before belief, and it comes out of clinical psychology. And what it found should genuinely rearrange the way you think about waiting to feel ready. Most people never hear this because it came from the wrong field. Neil Jacobson at the University of Washington ran a study in 1996 with 150 people who were stuck, not just hesitant, clinically stuck. And he wanted to know whether changing how you feel has to come before you change what you do. What he found was the opposite. The answer contradicts everything you have been told about motivation. When people started doing things before they felt like doing them, the feeling followed. Not before, after. Sonia Demidzian replicated this in 2006 with 241 people and got the same result. The internal state is not the engine, it is the exhaust. Action produces the belief. You have had the sequence completely backwards this entire time. Waiting for the belief first inverts the whole sequence. And that inversion is exactly what is keeping you at the research stage with the 11 Labs tab still unopened. So here's what this looks like for you today, and it is deliberately smaller than you think it should be. Open 11 Labs. Warning, this will feel wrong before it feels right. Paste 1 paragraph of your script. Any paragraph, it does not matter which one. Generate the audio. Do not evaluate it. Do not decide if it is good. The only goal is that an audio file exists that did not exist an hour ago. That is it. Everything after this depends on whether you actually do it. The belief update does not happen in your head before you start. It happens the moment the output is real. You now have the cognitive layer covered and the action layer covered. But there is one more thing the fraud feeling feeds on. A mistaken idea about who is actually watching you. That is where the last piece lands. The third tool is called the audience calibration shift, and it comes from Raymond Nickerson's 1999 review in the Review of General Psychology, 30 years of research on why you are systematically wrong about what others know. Fix the picture, and the fraud feeling's entire foundation collapses. Here is what Nickerson found, in plain terms. Once you know something, you cannot accurately remember what it felt like not to know it. You do not just overestimate beginners, you genuinely cannot picture how little a beginner is working with. That gap is invisible to you. That blindness is the reason your imagined critic does not exist. Now flip that to your situation. The audience you are imagining when you feel like a fraud, the skeptical, credentialed, already knows everything viewer, is not your audience. That person does not exist in your comments section. You have been performing for a jury that never showed up. You have been auditioning for a room that is empty, while the actual room is full of people who Googled something they could not figure out and landed on your thumbnail hoping you would finally explain it plainly. So here is what you do right now. Write 1 sentence, 1, describing the single person most likely to watch your first video. Be specific. Get this wrong and the fraud feeling wins by default. 26 years old. Googled how to start a faceless YouTube channel with no equipment, hoping you will tell them what software to actually open first. Then ask yourself honestly whether that person needs a credential from you or just needs you to have figured out the thing they have not figured out yet. Post that sentence in your Notes app and leave it open while you work today. When you do all three of these things, you are not someone who stopped feeling like a fraud. You are someone who decided the feeling does not get a vote. You have three things now that you did not have before: a name for the shift, a place to anchor it, and proof that the room you were auditioning for was always empty. Which of the three did you need most today? Leave that in the comments below. Because if you watched this to the end, you are not someone waiting to feel ready. You have quietly decided that ready is not the entry requirement. That decision is already a different kind of action than most people take. The fraud feeling does not go away before you start. It goes away because you did. And now you know exactly why that is true.